Glaciers, now frozen relics, but the pulse of Earth's water system. The article is taken from the newspaper The Hindu. Why we are discussing this article today? Because the United Nations General Assembly declared the 2025 as the International Year of Glaciers Preservation and also proclaimed that from 2025 onwards, every March 21st will be observed as World Day for Glaciers. We know that glaciers, they are an important geomorphic agent which plays a very important role in shaping the landform. They also regulates climate, influences the life. So if you look in this sense, we can see that glacier influences the hydrosphere, biosphere, atmosphere, and also the lithosphere of this planet. So the melting of the glacier can bring a lot of negative impacts. So it is a high time to protect the glaciers, and we know that in the COP29, which was held in Azerbaijan's capital Baku, the Tajikistan minister said that the Tajikistan alone lost nearly 1,000 plus glaciers in the last 30 years, and the glacier melting is it is accelerated due to the this accelerated climate change, and the melting of the glacier also raises concern about the rising sea level, spread of disease, drought, and several other socio-economic problems. So let us discuss more about the glaciers, its significance from the main point of view. So what are glaciers? So glaciers, we can simply say that they are an important geomorphic agent. So if you go to the higher elevation, that means if you go to the higher altitude or the higher latitude, the precipitation will be in the form of snow, and the snow and this ice will be accumulated in the depression, which will ultimately results in the formation of glacier. And if you take in the case of Earth, the two poles of this planet, that is the northern pole and the southern pole, has the accumulation of glaciers, that is in Arctic and in Antarctic. And coming to the formation, at higher elevations, the typical form of precipitation will be in the form of snow, which ultimately results in the formation of glacier. And this glacier will, after a particular period of time, the glacier will move towards the lower elevation, and in the lower elevation the melting will be faster, and here the glacier will break, and the glacier will become iceberg, and the iceberg will will fall in the water, and it will make the deposition of debris like the moraines. And we know that the glaciers forms important landforms like Hanging Valley, Ribbon Lake, Drumlins, Craig and Tail, and Roche Mountains, and also the U-shaped valley in the middle course of the glacier. And in this picture, you can see that the accumulation of the glacier, and it is moving towards the lower elevation, and towards the lower elevation there will be an increasing of the melting, and finally after melting it will break and becomes icebergs, and icebergs will fall in the water, and there it makes the deposition. So this is the short story of the the movement of the glacier. And coming to the largest glaciers on this planet, we know that it is present in the polar regions, in the two poles of this planet. And in the case of Antarctic Peninsula, Antarctic Peninsula is one of the three important glacier complex present in Antarctic continent, and among them the Antarctica Peninsula holds biggest ice body, and that is covering around 81,000 square kilometer. And in this picture you can see some of the list of the largest glaciers in every continent. So pause the video and go through it. And the next is ice sheets. Ice sheets are the mass of glacial ice that sits on land and extends more than 50,000 square kilometer, and they will be in constant motion, spreading out from broad domes. And currently there are only two important ice sheets on this planet. First one is in Antarctica, and next is in Greenland. And if you take the Antarctic and the Greenland ice sheets itself, you can see that it contains more than 99% of the freshwater ice and 68% of the fresh water on this planet. So from here we know that the glacier act as an important source of fresh water to the people, and it also supports many biodiversity. So coming to the significance of this glacier, you can see it is one of the important components of the cryosphere. Cryosphere means the frozen system of this planet, which includes frozen lake, permafrost, and the glaciers. So it plays a vital role of the Earth frozen system, influencing the global climate and the sea level. We know that the glacier, they have a high albedo, which means they have a high capacity to reflect the insolation. So this plays a very important role in regulating the heat on this planet. If you lose the glacier, then the insolation will increase, and which will ultimately increase the temperature of this planet and affects the balance of the life system as well. And the next is the glacier, the sea level, the rapid melting of the glacier raises the concern of the rising sea level. And according to the United Nations estimation, by 2050, if this accelerated rate is continuing, then more than half of the city, or sorry, more than one third of the total cities, important cities on this planet, will go under water. And the next is a natural water reservoir. We know that if you take the Antarctic and Greenland glacier, its ice sheet itself, you can see that it holds nearly 68% of the world fresh water. And the next is source of river. The best example that we have, the Himalayan river system. The glaciers as the important source, act as the important source for Indus, Brahmaputra and Ganga, and that supports the socio-economic life of the people and also several flora and fauna. And the next is biodiversity support. That is there is a fragile ecosystem, and the biosphere depends on glacier melting water. And if the melting happens rapidly in the near future, the glaciers will disappear, which means the flora and fauna depending on this glacier water will also disappear very soon, which will ultimately impact the balance of the ecosystem and also destroys the livelihood of the people. And the next is the climate change indicator. Like I mentioned, the glacier plays a very important role in the in managing the heat budget of this planet. If the glacier disappears, then the earth will become more warmer, and therefore the glacier mass balance serves as a key measure of long-term climate shift. The glaciologists, they will measure the glacier mass balance. That means how much amount of glacier is deposited one year and how much is melted one year. So they will take the ratio and they will calculate the glacial mass balance. If it is going beyond a limit, then we can say that there is a rapid melting of the glacier, which indicating a severe climate crisis is coming in the coming days. So coming to the impact of the glacier melting, we can see that the climate change, like I mentioned, the glacier plays a very important role in managing the heat budget. Once the glacier disappears, then there will be an increasing in the insolation, which will make the planet warmer. And the next is reduced river flow. Industrial system or the many rivers in the Europe, they are depending on the Alps mountain. So if the glaciers are disappeared, then the rivers will also disappear, and which will affect the livelihood of the people. And the next problem will be socio-economic problems like food shortage and poverty. And the next is drought. So the glacier provides water to many regions. So if the glaciers are disappeared, like in the case of river flow, it will also result in droughts. And the next is glacial lake outburst flood. So recently the Sikkim, in 2023, Sikkim witnessed a disastrous glacial lake outburst, which destroyed the infrastructure and also took many lives. And the next is loss of biodiversity. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, many fragile ecosystem and flora and fauna, they are depending on the glacier melting water. So once the glaciers disappears, it will affect the ecosystem as well. And the next is rising sea level. So if the glacier melting is happening rapidly, which means the sea level will also increase, and that affects the coastal community and also results in disappearance of many important cities from the world, which act as an important economic hub, which supports the economic growth of a nation. So once if you lose those cities, then economy of the nation will also face setbacks. So what can be done to ensure the balance or to preserve the glacier? So first is glaciers as a lifeline. Protecting glaciers secures our water future. And the next is integrating knowledge, that is combining local wisdom with the scientific strategies will help to manage the glaciers more effectively with the participation of communities, which is very important. And the next is stronger policies. That means the government must curb in emissions and invest in adaptation and mitigation strategies. And the next is individual action, that is reducing carbon footprints and support sustainable way of lifestyle is very important. And the next is global initiatives, like I mentioned in the beginning, the United Nations, they are observing this year as the International Year of Glacier Preservation, and from this year onwards, every 21st March will be observed as the World Day of Glaciers. So this type of initiatives has to be taken from the global level to preserve and to maintain the glaciers. So I hope you understood this topic. In this topic, we discussed what is glacier, what is ice sheets, and what is the importance of the glaciers, and what will be the impact of this rapid glacier melting